Hi, everybody. Hey, it's Donna Reed here in the Cactus Lounge in Tucson, Arizona. And I traveled with Up With People 1976A. And today I have a super special friend of mine, Roxanne Miles. Yay!
Yay!
Joining me from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hi, Roxanne.
Hi, Donna. I'm glad we could get together and I could figure out how to.
I know. Do the Zoom thing. Everybody in our generation is like dealing
Right.
with this. Yeah.
I don't practice much anymore. So
That's true. That's true. So there are some questions that I kind of asked everybody. Clearly, I just said you live in Milwaukee. And I'm gonna tell you something that you may or may not know about these podcasts, Zoom things, YouTube, whatever. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So I had some people ask me at the reunion why I started these or what I was doing. And I want you to know that you were the person that was in my mind when I decided to do these. Yeah. Because I think that there are stories that we know from a lot of people through the years. And they're rich and famous, and they're the people that are the everyday heroes. And I know so much about
orange dresses in the back row.
Absolutely. Yeah. And who went on to do what and why. So why don't you tell everybody when you traveled?
I traveled with Donna in 76A. And at the time that I traveled, I had just finished college, unlike Donna, who just finished high school.
Yes.
And so I was 23 when I traveled. And it was an adventure year. Now, nowadays, people have gap years before they go to college. I had a gap year before I had to go to work.
Right, right. So tell me, because I don't know that I know this. When did you see a show? Like, did you see them through high school or sing out, or what was your first experience?
Well, I learned the song Up With People, I think in junior high.
Really?
And when I went from 8th grade to high school, I went to a suburban high school in Milwaukee, and I was asked by one of the girls in choir, hey, would you like to be in Sing Out Milwaukee? And I talked to my parents about it. And I think I'd seen Up With People on TV also. But I thought this sounded great, but it was downtown, and it was the fall of 1967, after there had been social unrest, as we say now, in the city of Milwaukee, and my parents didn't want me to go downtown. They didn't have any problem with singing in a community group or whatever, but it wasn't something that I was allowed to do. And then I think I probably saw them on TV, and then I went to college, and between my first senior year and my second senior year, as I was on the 5-year plan, I worked at Girl Scout camp, and then the girls who were all going to the University of Wisconsin at Eau Claire, we decided we'd do something. All the camp girls would do something together, and we chose to go to Up With People in September of my final senior year. And I was like mesmerized, and I thought, this is fabulous. And I interviewed with Robin Welsh and Stephanie Cruz.
Really? So do you remember
what two that interviewed me? And Sam Lanham gave me the vocal thing, and I was a music major. So
I don't think they asked me to.
You knew that?
I don't think I knew who interviewed you. So for me, I saw 75C. Do you remember whether it was 75B or A, or we'll have to ask those guys.
It was a big group, so it may have been one of when they were all together.
Okay.
Because there were 3 casts that made up like B, and I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. A lot of the same
Yeah,
names
I
that,
know.
yeah, when I just talked to Sharon Diedrich the other day, she
Mhm.
said we were both at the same show and pretty much like interviewed at, and didn't know that. That's just so weird to think about.
Yeah,
So,
that is
all right. So you were a music major and,
music
did
education.
music education. Did your parents help pay your way? Did you have to do fundraising? What happened from that perspective?
I
Wait, before you answer, tell the world how much it cost when we traveled.
three thousand
Remember?
dollars, right?
I
What,
think 39 or 3,600 or something like
$3,900
that.
or it was
Yeah,
$4,000.
yeah.
My parents didn't have the money, as my brother was already in college. And granted, stuff didn't cost a lot of money then. I think my freshman year of college, room, board, and tuition for a year was $1,700 at a state school in Wisconsin for an in-state resident. But so, but I did not, I wasn't quite sure how to do fundraising. And and in those days, if your parents paid for it, it was not tax deductible. But if
Right.
else paid for it, it was tax deductible. So my aunt and uncle, bless their hearts,
Oh,
paid my tuition both
is that
semesters.
is
So
that the uncle that we had dinner with at that
that's,
club, that fancy
well,
stuff?
I don't know whether that was Uncle Roger or Uncle Tom, but
I think it was Uncle Tom. I call it the good old boys club. I don't know what it really was
yeah,
called.
the university club.
If
Yes,
you
it's
call it a
very nice.
gentleman's club, that sounds different.
Yes, no, it wasn't that kind of place. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was my Uncle Tom and Aunt Patty that paid my tuition.
Nice.
And my parents couldn't have afforded it at
Yeah.
that time because my brother was still in college and my sister was about to start. So
Ah,
so I really wasn't sure I was going until the very last minute
yeah.
when they
That was
came.
nice.
And
Yeah.
I was very grateful that though they're all gone now, they I had the chance to tell him that that was really the nicest thing that anybody
Ah,
did. Me.
that's really sweet.
And it's interesting because my cousin, who's 9 years older, and I always say she was off being old and glamorous. You know, when we were in elementary school, she was in high school and she went to prom and all these things. And then when we were in high school, she was in college and then she got married and it was very fun. And and so she always laughs at that, but he never told my cousins that he did this for me. So
Oh, that's sweet. That's really sweet. I didn't remember
it was
that piece of
cool.
it.
And it was really, it
Yeah.
was one of the best things that
Well,
happened.
so you and I talked to you a little bit ago, I think, and I was saying that while I was just at the reunion for the one day, that
Mhm.
Scott DuPay said to me as I'm doing these interviews, what is the one thing, like the message that is going through all of these? And that was kind of fascinating for me to think about because pretty much it's like how it changed people's lives, right? And how it was such a good thing. So even though you and I were orange polyester backdrops, it
On
was
yellow 3 or whatever.
yeah, and Roxanne, my memories of you because you were one of the few people that could really sing and could really sing first soprano was that
Right.
there were times when all the rest of us just opened our mouths. You were the only one, like Shularoon, whatever that
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not so sure I could sing all those high notes now, but
Oh yeah,
that
that's
that
funny.
was, it was, yes. And that actually, I was really excited because in our first show I did Almayanera. And so I thought, oh, good, I get to have a part. That's great. Well, I did that the first several shows.
I
And
remember that.
I
Yeah.
went on PR to Salt
Oh,
Lake City. And we rode around in a golf cart that we would bat our eyes at. Merrill D and I would bat our eyes at the president of the Utah State Fair and say, could we please borrow your Mr. B, long German last name? And we'd go racing around the Utah State Fairgrounds in his golf cart.
Racing around.
Well, I'm sure we were very well behaved, but
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
It was just, and when I came back from PR after being gone for 2 weeks, I was an orange. I wasn't even on a mic. And so
Oh,
I had never run in from the back and danced around in the aisles. I'd never done any of that. And so it was like, this was weird. And
because you would just walk up and be on the mic and be standing there while the rest of us ran
right,
down the
right.
aisles. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's funny. That's
So
funny.
that was an interesting time. But I think I was, and I'm still pretty conservative, as I say, morally, that I thought everybody was going to be like me.
Oh, me too.
I thought everybody was going to be, and it was 1976. So I thought everybody was going to be focused on what we were doing. I thought that more people would be musical. And I thought that everybody, I was one of those, oh, Roxanne, she's such a nice girl, which I'd like to be mysterious and alluring, and I was a nice girl. And and I was a rule follower.
Oh, you and me both. Yeah.
And I, now that we've talked about this before, but if I'd known all the nonsense that was going on, I mean, Up With People was it was like a combination of 100 people who were all leaders within where they came from.
Right.
Whether it meant me, I was a leader in Scouts, in the music department, I was in my music sorority, I was a leader within my little world.
Right.
For me, that meant a moderate sized campus and a huge high school. For two of the kids that came from a little tiny town in Missouri, they graduated with 6 other people that they'd been to kindergarten with.
Well, and you've been to my hometown, and it's the same way. My class in that town had 25 or 26 of us, and so it was the same way for me. And it's so weird that you say that you thought everybody was going to come from the same thing. I literally spoke those words to somebody this morning, and it's already been a few hours, so I can't remember who, but whatever we brought to the table and Up With People, that's all we had to bring. So my parents were married, and I was in this little German town of 9, settled by 9 brothers. You can't come with another experience because that's the only experience you have, right? And then all of a sudden, I was
from the suburbs of Milwaukee, and I was a nice middle, and I had a mother and a father and a brother and a sister and a dog. And I mean, that's kind of what, and so it broadened my horizons to meet people from other places. My roommate, Margie, bless her little heart, was like this hyperactive, cute, darling 18-year-old, and we got along like peas in a pod. And when we were in Tucson, and we had a great time. And but she had been an Army brat, and I've been aware of the things that they did. And we had 4 or 5 people, I think, out of our 100 who'd been military.
Denny was for sure stuff. All right, so we could talk forever about our cast. So tell me, I try to ask everybody if there was a song that really meant a lot to them. I really want somebody to say memorable tune or something, but that never happens.
I thought about that.
It's
which nobody's ever heard of anywhere. No, you know what? For me, in our cast, Save the Dancer was the one that I loved when I was in the cast. I also did it with my first 6 years teaching, 2 years North Milwaukee. And then I taught in a small town in Maine, coastal Maine, where Stephanie, our cast member, had been
Yeah.
from. I thought,
Right.
oh, sure, I'll go take a job in Camden, Maine. I've never been
You're
there.
with your shirt, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't know. You're fine. You keep going like this because
I know. It's like,
because we're the
okay.
old generation.
Oh,
We don't want
right.
that, but it's fine.
Okay. Sorry. So then I taught for 2 years outside of Milwaukee. I taught, and that was middle school through high school. And then I moved to Camden, Maine, and I taught middle school through high school. And I did Save the Dancer with both my high school choirs.
Wow.
And
Do you remember how they felt about it?
they
Like,
loved it. They
did
loved
they?
it, and it spoke to them. And I've had kids who are like practically
Yeah.
your age, but I mean, some of the kids that I had were 6, 7 years younger than me. When you're 24
Yeah.
and you're teaching 18-year-olds,
Right. Right.
or 26 and teaching 18-year-olds, it's different.
Yeah.
And so I did Save the Dancer, and it was really, really moving to them. And some of them have said in years since, I remember that song. And
Do you remember in Mexico City how I think it was maybe Lynn that was dancing, Lynn Morris, and it was projected on a screen, I think, and we just saw the shadow of the dancer or a silhouette of a dancer. That was a great song. Yeah. Sam sang that a couple times too. Sam Lynn. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you also then, so through how many years of teaching school in Milwaukee?
I taught 2 years north of, I total of 42 years. And
42 years.
42 years. And I retired a year ago in June. So
That's
that in
right.
June of 2021. So
In one of the lost years of COVID.
yeah, I taught virtually completely from the shutdown in March through the end of the school year. I had to submit lessons plans, and I sent it out to the kids, and nobody ever did the lessons as far as I knew, but I had to learn a lot of experience. I'm fussing with my shirt. And so I taught then, and then we were given Google training and Zoom training and a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
Between 2020 and the spring or the summer of 2020, we did that. And then I went back to school in the fall of 2020 and taught another year, where I taught 6 classes, 2 of them virtual. So I'd teach 2 classes. I'd have 2 classes virtually around my lunchtime. And then I taught 2 more, and I learned a lot.
So you and I, through the years, I know where you've lived, and I know that you stayed in a specific place to be able to teach in the Milwaukee city schools, right? The Milwaukee public schools.
Right. And then I came back from Maine and I taught in Milwaukee public schools. Right. And I taught in downtown Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
Go ahead.
No, that's what I wanted to bring up, because I know that you taught in a very then integrated school, very different from where you grew up, right?
Oh yeah, I grew up in the suburbs, and so but then when I did student teaching, and my daughter is just arriving. So I don't know whether you want to pause this.
No pausing. Just tell Emily, shh, take her dog, go in the other room.
Yeah, go in the other room. I love you very much. I'm having a Zoom recording with.
Unless she wants to go get your dress on and bring it out and show everybody. Ooh, no. Emily. All right.
So, now I have no idea where.
Okay, so what I wanted to get to is the integration, of where your life went.
I grew up in an all-white suburb. The Black people that I knew were cleaning ladies, and I didn't know. And then And it's funny because when I think back on being asked to be in Milwaukee sing, or in Sing Out Milwaukee,
Sing Out Milwaukee.
that it was one of the few Black girls that were in my high school, and we were in freshman choir together.
Oh, wow.
But and then I went to school in northern Wisconsin, so that was not, I never knew there were so many Mary Catherines, Mary Rose, Mary Elizabeths. I never knew there were so many Catholics in the world, because I grew up in a predominantly Jewish, half and half Jewish Christian neighborhood, and that was my reality. And then I went to Eau Claire, and everybody's Lutheran, varieties of Lutheran. So I learned a lot there.
Do you think that you're experiencing up with people? We talked about, where you were born and how you were raised. Mm-hmm. And then you travel the world and you're like, oh, everybody's really different. We're not all the same. Do you feel like that helped you in the moving forward in the schools that you worked in, and with the kids, and with understanding their lives and their world and things?
I think so. And I also had the chance to listen to people who had been in the school. Now, I was in a citywide magnet school, and so we had kids from the East Side, white kids from the East Side, and neighborhood kids, and all sorts. We predominantly had Black and white kids at the beginning. I was at that school for 21 years, and by the end it was like 95% Black, and then we had about 5% Hmong and a few white families, but I learned a lot by listening to teachers' aides that we'd stay after school, and I'd ask them questions about, why does this kid say this, and what does this mean? And I learned by listening to other people
and learning their stories.
Not only other teachers, but predominantly the aides who, were in our classrooms helping out, and they would work with. And the thing that I think separates most of us or not separates, but the thing that I found most interesting was the difference between people who are financially secure and people who live in poverty.
Right.
After being in Milwaukee for 20 years, I went and taught in Kenosha for the last 15 years of my teaching career. And Kenosha is on the Illinois-Wisconsin border, so about 40 minutes. And the kids looked different in that it was about a third Black, a third Hispanic, and a third white. But there was a big difference between the kids who were came from secure, intact families, and the ones who were living in poverty. We pulled from several trailer parks, and that's a whole different, and poverty does things to kids and their attitudes and their value of education. And
so
it was very different from where I grew up.
Exactly. So I think that part of Up With People and staying in people's homes, and I was thinking about this because of where I'm going to stay on an upcoming trip, and it's somebody offering me a place to stay and have her bed, and then she's going to have an air mattress, because it's just a little flat. And that people did that for us in their homes when we were traveling, and we had no idea if they had money. We had no idea where some of the families slept when they were traveling, right? We don't know the stories, and that's something that Up With People teaches us. And that me doing this it's a learning from that perspective, because we all only know what we know until we venture out and are willing to listen, right? And learn.
And I think that I think I kept myself separate from our group in some ways until really second semester.
Because you were old or what?
I think because I was old and a rule follower, which apparently didn't, we weren't supposed to drink, smoke, or pair off, and I did not. And though I do remember them reading on the bus where they'd say, okay, we're coming into Colorado, blah, 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 blah. And the drinking age is, and then it would say 21. And those of us who were old, we were like, yeah, not that we drank, but we could.
But you could if you wanted to.
Yeah, I could if I wanted to.
Oh my gosh, that's
or
funny.
gamble. Yeah.
Or gamble. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say that in Echo, Nevada, our host family picked us up, and and he said, now, how old are you, honey? 23. Oh, here, and handed me a nickel. Put it in the slot machine. So I put it in the slot machine, and 3 nickels came out. I thought,
were you addicted?
This is cool. Put those 3 nickels back, got nothing. And I learned a lesson, and I'm not big on gambling as it is.
You know what?
But that was like one of those weird things that, people say, well, I like to go to the casino. No, because you put, 3 nickels come out, they're gone.
Honestly, so I just at the reunion, because the reunion was just at a casino, and I had gone to a casino the night before, and I wasn't going to pay to be at the reunion for one day. And then I'm like, I just spent $70 going like this. Okay, this is like a confession to the world, and got nothing except a bunch of blingy lights. So yes, I should pay for the up with people.
You should have been with me and seen me.
I know, I would have lost my 3 nickels. All right, so tell everybody. I know when we traveled bicentennial year, we did the United States and Mexico. Is there any place in the world that you really want to go that you haven't been? Is there a country that you'd like to visit that you haven't been to?
Oh, I've only been to, I would like to go to Hawaii, which I know cast deep. I've been to Canada, but I'd really like to, and I've been to England and Scotland.
Okay.
But,
by the way, we're in our last 10 minutes, so we got to wrap it up pretty quick.
Okay. I was with a choir, and
that's right.
I haven't been to Europe, and I would like to go there.
Maybe we need to have, we didn't, all these other casts are having reunions in Europe because they had a bunch of Europeans that traveled with them, and we only had like 5.
Right, because the second year bicentennial.
Yeah, right. What about foods on the road? Was there anything that you tried for the first time that you would never eat again, or that you loved?
I grew up in a family where I'd eaten things like lobster and oysters and stuff like that. But I had been to the first host family. There were 4 or 5 of us staying in a house, and we may have been on air mattresses because we were combined with Cast B in Gallup, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And our host family served us enchiladas. And so I smile, and it was the spiciest thing. Okay, I'm from Wisconsin. I mean, spicy means maybe a bratwurst or some mustard. But not, yeah. Okay, so that was and what did I have for dinner tonight? Enchiladas left over from.
I still get the more mild sauce. I'm such a wimp when we do it. You mentioned lobster, and it's funny that you would, because remember when I visited you a few years ago, it's the first time I had a lobster roll. I had never had a lobster roll. Yeah, we don't have lobster in Northwest Ohio.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee, kind of near the water.
I think that one of the things that I'd like to tell whoever listens is that Up With People it gave me a lot of confidence when I was when I came out.
Mm,
I went on the extended cast
that's right.
and then was called home for a job interview. Had the job interview, got a job. Then I got a part-time job for a neighbor where I had to answer phones in his office and nobody called. And so I made 3 really thick, big scrapbooks of our trip and Up with People. And I may stick them in the car when I come out and we see each other in the
We can remember what we looked like 40 some years ago.
well, and you know, I didn't have a camera. And this is
Ah.
pre-cell phone and pre things, but I would send home all my allocation packets. My dad would go through them, sort them out, and put them in order. He thought the traveling was the best thing ever. Well, and you met my dad.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
so it was all organized for me to do. So I
To
was
be able to
really
do your,
excited.
that's cool.
Yeah. So I
All
was
right.
really, and I got that done. But then Up with People kind of went away.
Right.
They didn't come to Wisconsin very much, and certainly not to the big city of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Maine, I really wanted some of those kids to travel. I really wanted to bring
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Maine.
yeah.
So then I called or wrote or did something, and probably not called because it was long distance. And
Yeah.
And Retta came and did advanced PR work. She did scheduling.
Yeah.
She came and stayed with me, and then we brought Up with People. So I was a sponsor, and in those days they would split the take. And I don't think the choir made a whole lot of money after everything, but we and I think the boy's name was Lee and the girl's name was Ia, and she was from Sweden. They were the PR team, and so I did stuff with them. So that was like, and two of my students interviewed and were accepted, and one of them traveled.
That's cool. Okay, we've only got a couple minutes. So you sponsored a show, and I remember that because then
goes away.
Yeah.
And then I moved home, and we'd see shows in Waukesha when they had a partnership with Carroll College, and then they'd go away. And we were a host family to a PR team, and then Up with People would fade away. I couldn't afford to go to then I get married.
Yep.
Couldn't afford to go to all my reunions. I went to some.
Okay.
And so it would come in and out. Now we
see each other, and Zoom helped that. Okay. So before we get cut off, we have the reunion, our own cast reunion coming up. The song that you and I sang, Around the Circle in Yonkers at the last show, was that a Girl Scout song, On the Loose?
I think I learned it at camp. Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not sure it was actually written
Girl
by
Scouts.
Girl Scout, but yes.
That's one of the few songs I can still play on my guitar because Mike Bandus taught me like 12 chords, and I can still play those 12 chords.
You know, if you've got the 12 chords, that's
so
you got it made.
All right, we got to end it here. I know you and I could jabber forever. Thank you for doing this at the last minute because I wanted to get it done.
Oh, and it's summertime, and I'm retired, and
it's all good. All right, I will post it, not right away, but soon. I'll let you know. We'll share it with our cast, and I will
catch up on some. I actually looked up the one with Jose Luis.
Good.
And I've got that on a bookmark. So,
and I will see you in Harrisonburg in October.
I know.
I love you. I'm going to end the recording.
Love you too.